Such a beautiful evening here in Uptown Charlotte in North Carolina, and it's time to induct 3 legends into the NASCAR Hall of Fame. The class of 2025 received their infamous blue jacket last night in a special ceremony with the president of NASCAR, Steve Phelps, Ralph Moody, Carl Edwards, and Ricky Rudd. So many memories of these legends throughout the years, and tonight, live on the red carpet, we're going to celebrate the legends of the sport as they're forever enshrined into the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Now, this night is very special here at the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte, North Carolina. My name is Alex Weaver, and thank you so much for joining us here. We're going to see former Hall of Famers as well as former drivers and family members of the 3 inductees, but we're going to honor Ricky Rudd, Carl Edwards, and Ralph Moody as they're forever enshrined into the NASCAR Hall of Fame. The ceremony is going to take place later tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern on the NASCAR channel on Tubi, so you're going to want to tune into that. But we're going to hear from a lot of these folks on how special this night is. It's a glamorous night. It's a time to celebrate, but it's also a time to look back and reflect on the past of this sport and the legends that make this sport so special. Now, Glory Road is packed out with fans. So not only is it the NASCAR Hall of Fame, which is hallowed grounds for our sport, but fans are welcome to come and watch these legends walk down the red carpet, which is so special for them. So if you hear claps in the background or yells, hollering, you can see all of these fans as they make their way here onto Glory Road. Such a special evening for our sport, and we saw the clash at Bowman Gray, but this also gets us started into the 2025 season and 3 legends that we get to honor here. We're also going to celebrate the Landmark Award tonight with Dr. Dean Sickning, who had so many innovations in the safety of NASCAR. One of his biggest contributions to the sport was the safety barriers that you guys see every single weekend at the racetrack that help our drivers stay safe inside of the race cars. So he's being honored as well this evening. We are now going to take a look. I think that Ray Everham and Ron Hornaday Jr. are making their way to me now, taking some photos. It's a long red carpet. Come on in. Let's welcome them in from the class of 2018, Ron Hornaday Jr., Ray Everham. First of all, let's start by how special this evening is, because you guys put on these blue jackets once a year. You come and take part in all of these special ceremonies. So, Ron, for you, how special is this week and this evening?
Just amazing. You never thought you'd be here. And when we were racing, there was no Hall of Fame. And to get inducted into this thing, and like Ray said, the people you see, the history of the sport and the stories you hear from Red Farmer, everybody, it's amazing behind the scenes. But to see all these fans come out here to help support the Hall of Fame is even more amazing.
Ray, I know that it has been a few years since you've been inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I get to have the pleasure of talking to you gentlemen every single year, but does it ever get any less special to put on that blue jacket every year and know that you're a Hall of Famer?
It gets more special. You know, when you said blue jacket, it actually gave me a little chill there, because these jackets are so special. The material and the way they're made, and you think of things like the Masters in golf, and I think about the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and then to be able to be proud every year, once a year, to put this jacket on and come here, it means more every year, because this place, the more people they induct and the more stories, it just becomes our hallowed ground. And as I said, every year when I walk out here, see the fans and see what's going on, I just get chills.
Well, Ron, we're going to honor 3 legends of our sport tonight. Let's talk about these 3 gentlemen that are being inducted into the Hall of Fame for the class of 2025. What do you have to say about this class?
We're going to see if Carl Edwards does his flip. We'll see if that happens. Holman and Moody, it's kind of cool, because I remember them when my father was at Galpin Ford and them helping my dad out racing and stuff. And it's just amazing to see it. And Ricky Rudd, the Iron Man, everything he's done in racing. And like Ray and I were talking, the only thing you remember is the crash when he had to tape his eyes open and bloodshot red. And I just relayed that to when I seen that deal on Donnie Allison the other night, when Davey took his sunglasses off and his eyes were not as bad as Ricky's, but amazing group, and I'm glad they're honored, because you can't tell them what this means. It's amazing, the phone calls you get from friends and enemies you used to race with on Saturday nights. So it's definitely an honor to have them involved with us.
And Ray, I'm sure similar sentiments from you, but you see, guys with so much grit, so much showmanship, and what all they've brought to the sport. What is the class of 2025? When you look at those 3 guys, what do you think? Well,
this is really what the DNA of the Hall and NASCAR racers are about. If you look at those guys, what Ralph Holman did was amazing as a driver, builder, safety-wise, development of the car, built cars for other people. And then, Carl Edwards, Ricky Rudd, both committed. They committed their lives to the sport. They worked hard. They started with nothing. They got all the way to the top. And it's great to see people that have so much, as I said, DNA of what you want a racer to be honored tonight is pretty special.
And then my final question for you guys, obviously the class of 2018, such a special honor for you guys to be recognized, have your family here that night. But for the 3 that are going into the Hall of Fame, what do you want them to take away from tonight?
Just enjoy it. That's all they can do. They got to enjoy it, because if they don't, they're going to miss it, because I missed a lot of it. The speech is probably the hardest for not a lot of people, but for people like me, was just a hard-ass mechanic, I should say. And I took it where I got my speech down pat, and I got up there and I forgot everything. So it's a freaking Hall of Fame, you know. So I mean, you just wing it and enjoy it. And I told them just feel it. You're going to miss somebody. You're going to miss that one person with the key man. Just don't think about it. Just don't try to get everybody in there, and just enjoy the moment.
We were all here. We heard their speeches. Ron did a great job, as well as Ray too. What do you hope that they take away from tonight?
Well, like Ron said, you want them to take away that experience, because to pull that in and realize that you're in this group of people now, and to know that blue jacket comes with some responsibility, the responsibility of bringing more people into the sport and representing our house. So really excited to watch the guys go through it tonight.
Well, you guys have some fun in there. Okay, enjoy it. Yeah. Yeah, Ray Everham knows how to have a good time. Ron Hornaday Jr. and Ray Everham, the class of 2018 for the NASCAR Hall of Fame, talking about how special this night is, how special it is to wear that blue jacket every single year. It's an opportunity for the Hall of Famers to come and really celebrate each other, but also talk stories, talk shop, and see how they've been doing throughout the years, to catch up a little bit. Well, we're now going to be joined by one of my favorite members. Come on up here, Mr. Donnie Allison. Welcome back to the NASCAR Hall of Fame. How are you tonight?
I'm really good, thank you. Actually better than I was last year when I got inducted in, but it's just great. I mean, I'm getting to enjoy it this year like I should have really been able to last year.
Yeah, we mentioned 1 year from your induction ceremony. What has it meant to you, though, to be called a Hall of Famer throughout this whole entire last year?
Well, it's kind of strange, you know. Everywhere you go now, everywhere I'm introduced, that's in an introduction, Hall of Fame, and you got to sit there and say, "Wait a minute, is that real?" That's I mean, but it's fabulous. You know, I worked hard a long time. I didn't have any idea I'd get in, but here I am.
Well, I think that you had a pretty special relationship with one of the guys going into the Hall of Fame, with Ralph Moody. What was he like as a person?
Oh, tremendous. We were very good friends. I stayed at Ralph's house, Ralph and Mitzi, a number of times. I don't know how many, but he really helped me. He helped a lot of young drivers, and him getting in really makes me feel good. I got one more to go, and then I'll relax. But anyway, Ralph, he not only was a good race car driver in his time, he was excellent race person.
You drove for him with Holman Moody. What was he like as an owner? Now's your time. You can talk a little hard shop with him. What was he like when you were behind the wheel?
Well, he didn't really say a whole lot unless it was something pertaining to the way we were having the car set up, or me driving a certain way, or trying something. He never told me to do anything. He said, "Why don't you try this or try that?" And you know, I was used to that, because that's my older brother Eddie said the same thing when I first started. Never told me, "Go out and do this." He'd say, "Why don't you try this or try that?" And it makes a big difference.
Well, we obviously got to honor your brother in some special ways last week, because we saw the clash at Bowman Gray, which was so infamous and famous with your family. What was it like seeing Cup cars going around Bowman Gray last week?
Well, I enjoyed it. My wife was a little bit nervous. She said, "They're going to wreck." I said, "No, honey, that's at least 18 of the best drivers we got." And I told her I think they have a fine race, and they did.
For folks that don't know what it's like to come into the Hall of Fame, wear this blue jacket, take part in all the events and the ceremonies throughout the week, how special is it for you guys to come back and see each other, but also see everybody in a blue jacket?
Oh, very good, because now we don't get to see each other as much as we did when we raced all the time. And for anybody out there that has not been here and seen this, you need to come. You will not believe it. When you walk in the door, you'll be in awe.
Let's also talk about Carl Edwards and Ricky Rudd, and those two drivers that are going into the Hall of Fame tonight. What do you think of Carl Edwards and Ricky Rudd being enshrined tonight?
Well, see, I actually raced with Ricky Rudd quite a few years for Carl Edwards, but when he came, You could tell he was all business. He was a fine race car driver. You look at his record, and it shows. And I'm glad to have them, both.
Well, Donnie Allison, member of the Alabama gang, you go and enjoy it. It's your turn to celebrate and sit out there and watch them give the hard speeches, right?
Thank you very much.
Donnie Allison, the class of 2024. I'm going to have him walk behind here. We're going to be joined by some other Hall of Famers here and just talk about this night and how special it is. But it's time for our first inductees family to make their way here onto the red carpet. Ralph Moody is being enshrined forever as a legend of our sport in the class of 2025. Let's take a look at some of his contributions to the sport of NASCAR. Obviously, we've talked to several people who have already mentioned he was a co-owner of Holman Moody Racing with 96 wins and 525 starts, a two-time car owner champion. 1967, the Daytona 500, he was owner of that team that won that crown jewel, and then he fielded cars for NASCAR Hall of Famers like we just talked to Donnie about, but Bobby Allison, Fireball Roberts, David Pearson, and more of the legends of our sport. But his family is here now to welcome him into the 2025 NASCAR Hall of Fame. They received the Blue Jackets last night on behalf of Ralph Moody, and also we're going to be celebrating the legacy of Ralph here tonight. I'm joined now by his son and his daughter. You guys come on over. You look lovely tonight. This is Ann, his daughter, and this is Ralph Moody III, his son. Thank you guys so much for being a part of it, but I first want to ask, how special is it to have your dad into the Hall of Fame tonight?
This is such an amazing event. I cannot believe that the night is tonight. The fact that he is being honored in this manner, he would absolutely love, and it's just amazing.
Ralph, what do you think your dad would be saying if he were here with us tonight?
It'd be a tremendous honor. He would be fairly humbled by it, I think, but he would always rise to the occasion for a speech at the end, so from that aspect, I'm sure he would have enjoyed every minute of it, being around a lot of colleagues that are still here. It would have been a very, very happy moment for him.
I also want to get a little inside the weeds here. Take me behind the curtain of the Moody family, because we saw Ralph as an owner and as a driver, and that grit and that toughness he had on the racetrack. What was he like as a father?
He was wonderful. He was absolutely wonderful. He was gone a lot, obviously, with racing when we were younger, but he never failed to make time to be with us together or individually, like take you out, make you feel like you're the center of attention and have a good time. He was silly. He was funny. He had a great sense of humor. He was a great father.
Ralph, what about you? What was your dad like?
The same as she said, he was a fantastic dad. I wouldn't call him strict, but he was firm with both of us, and tremendous amount of time that he did spend with us, including his lifestyle. But for an example, when we were still in school, he made sure every summer we were together. Like, we traveled a lot to all the racetracks during the non-school months together as a family, so that was part of him keeping everybody together.
I also want to hear about when you guys found out that your dad was being inducted into the Hall of Fame. What was that day like?
It was loud. we were on the phone, jumping up and down, just woo.
Who got the call?
Well, we
watched it on TV at home.
We watched it live. Actually, I called her just before the live broadcast, and she's like, well, this is the sixth year, I don't know.
I get excited.
I said, I have a good feeling about this one, and then we hung up, we watched the thing, I called her right back, and all I heard on the phone was, yeah!
Yeah, it's great.
That's so great. I also want to talk about just the sport of NASCAR as a whole. If your dad could see everything now, what would he think about this sport?
That's a very good question.
I think he'd like the competition. There's some things I think he would like to see changed, but from the standpoint of the competitors, it's still very competitive. You've got a lot of folks that were close to one another, and the competition is really tough now.
Yep. He'd still be looking for an edge.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
They never stop competing, do they? We're seeing some shots here of your dad and Holman Moody Racing. What do you guys remember from being at the racetrack or being around your dad or in the shop? What was life like as a dad who was a car owner?
It was completely normal to me because I grew up in it. People ask that type of question a lot, and it's kind of hard to answer. It's like your dad goes to the office, my dad went to the shop, or he went to the track, or that. So for us, it was pretty normal. I did enjoy the traveling, though. That was really fun. you know.
Yeah, and he was a private pilot too. So, like back in the day, they used to rent racetracks a lot more. There wasn't a restriction on practice and testing, and so he was gone even during the week at some track testing cars or tires or Firestone or Goodyear. So it was very common for him to jump in the airplane on Tuesday and fly down to Rockingham or go here, go there. And if it was summertime, we'd go with him, you know. And so that was exciting, you know. You didn't think about it that not everybody's dad had an airplane, you know, but it was common.
Yeah, I can tell you, my dad does not have an airplane. That's very special for you guys to be able to travel with him. But as far as Ralph the competitor, was he competitive at home as he was as a team owner and as a race car driver?
You answered that one.
It was a little, between he and my mom, but it was like playful, competitive between them. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, I'm going to get you. It was just something funny, just something to her be, Ralph, you know, and why did you? And then it would be ha ha ha, and they both think it was hilarious. He wasn't competitive. He didn't teach us to really be competitive to each other. It was very clear that we were like a team, you know, we're all family. So it was never a mean-spirited competitiveness. It was always like the playful, fun competitiveness in the family.
I love that. I know you both wish that he were here. What has this week meant for your family as a whole? I know obviously the children of your dad, but when you talk about all the memories with the whole family, what's the family thought of this experience?
Oh, it's been fantastic. We've been reliving certain things over the years of stuff, even after he retired and was at home and playing with the grandkids and stuff like that. You know, our kids actually remember him at that stage more than when he was racing, so they have a different view of him as a grandfather than we do as kids. So so from that aspect, it's interesting to hear their stories because they're slightly different than ours, you know.
And I don't know if I should even ask this with two siblings up here. Where does the blue jacket go? Where's it going to live? Who gets it?
I don't know. We haven't talked about it.
We haven't talked about it. Right now it's in the case. I guess it'll be here for a year, right? Yeah. So we've got, you know, I've got several of his jackets. You've got several of his jackets from different inductions and also from racing around. So it's not like we have to have it. We've got enough stuff laying around at both houses.
We're okay.
There's another problem sometimes for that. But this one will have a high place on
it. Yep.
Well, we hear, and I've already heard it from several of our Hall of Famers here about how nervous they are to give a speech tonight or what the speech means to them. What do you think your dad would have been like giving a speech at the NASCAR Hall of Fame?
Surprisingly, I've seen him do it. Like he got inducted at Talladega Hall of Fame, and he was actually fairly confident when he got up there. He does, I guess, because of his history. He was in front of a camera more than any of us, so he was quite comfortable. I won't say total 100% comfortable, but fairly comfortable telling stories. He was a good storyteller, so he's comfortable in front of the camera. Yeah.
Well, congratulations. You all celebrate the legacy of your dad tonight, and thank you so much for being here. That was Ann and Ralph Moody, the daughter and son of Ralph Moody, who is being enshrined here into the class of 2025. We obviously mentioned his legacy and the stats that he has in the sport of NASCAR, but you hear a lot of folks say how great he was as a team owner with Holman Moody Racing, went on to win Crown Jewels, championships of our sport, such a special character, and we're excited to honor him, as well as the other two legends going into the Hall of Fame with Carl Edwards and Ricky Rudd. It's interesting to hear the memories that all of the Hall of Famers have of each other. You get to talk about those and see that they, you know, talk shop and talk the sport throughout the week here. We're taking a look now at one of the new inductees for the class of 2025 in the NASCAR Hall of Fame, Ricky Rudd, the Iron Man. Looking at his jacket there, you see the special Hall of Fame emblem, the lapel on the jacket. They all got them last night during a ceremony with the president of NASCAR, Steve Phelps. They will wear those throughout all the events, and a special time for a lot of our Hall of Famers is every single year when it's time for a new class to be inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame. They put those jackets in here, and we'll wear them for all of these special events. Now, before Ralph comes over and joins us here on the red carpet, we're going to take a look at something new for NASCAR this year. On NASCAR's YouTube channel, there is the sights and sounds of all the places, whether it be restaurants or entertainment, anywhere that you need to check out on Daytona when we head down to Speed Weeks. Take a look.
Every year, the Daytona 500 arrives right when you need it most, in the very teeth of winter. Just beyond the high banks of the track, though, is a whole different world. We'll cruise over the sand that's flat and fast and unlike anywhere else on Earth. You'll hear how a band of visionaries willed NASCAR into existence. We'll cruise the waters around the track, throwing out lines and telling a few fish tales along the way.
Look at that. Beautiful Florida redfish.
We'll take you to a classic snack bar that serves up the finest chili dogs for miles. We'll watch the sunrise with a cup of coffee and New Smyrna. We'll see off the day with fried shrimp and cold beer in Ormond Beach. We'll look to the sea and to the sky and to the open road ahead. Home Turn, coming Tuesday, February 11th.
That's Home Turn. You're going to want to make sure and tune into that as we head down next week for the Daytona 500. But now it's time to be joined by one of the inductees tonight. We're honoring him. We're so excited to do so, and he's joined me now on the red carpet. But let's take a look at Ricky Rudd's statistics and some of the memories he's had here in the sport of NASCAR. 906 career Cup Series starts. That's the second all-time. 788 consecutive starts from 1981 to 2005. He's the 1997 Brickyard 400 winner, 1977 Cup Series Rookie of the Year, and now officially from the class of 2025, a NASCAR Hall of Famer. Ricky, I've had the pleasure of talking to you since this announcement has been made last year that you were going into the Hall of Fame. What has the last couple of months been like for you?
Well, it's been very busy. You know, I've been away from the sport a little while, and just truly honored to be able to be inducted into this Hall of Fame. The legends that I grew up with, looking up to, are they're here, they're in this building, and just the build up. I kind of kept a pretty low profile. I didn't go to too many races, and just to be able to run into some of my old buddies I haven't seen in about 15 years. Just a lot going on in a short period of time.
Well, you look really dapper in a blue jacket. It fits you quite nicely. What was it like putting that thing on last night?
It was definitely something special. We actually, had to go get fitted for it. They took all your measurements and stuff, and I'm in there when Carl Edwards was going to get fitted for his jacket as well. So it was. I'll always remember it because we got a chance to. Carl and I, we raced. I was finishing up my career. Carl was starting his, and just what a remarkable guy. But we got a chance. My family and his family were there, and they got a chance to chat a little bit. So it was a memorable experience. But basically to be able to put this jacket on, that to me it just says this is for real. This, you're not going to wake up and say, man, I just dreamed I was in the Hall of Fame. It kind of, the reality sunk in.
Well, I spoke with you the day that you officially found out you were going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and you said that you were doing yard work and had to rush to Uptown Charlotte. What was the drive like coming tonight? A little less chaotic?
Well, I don't think there's an official record posted yet, but I'm sure on all those toll lanes they got cameras, and I believe we probably hold the record from coming down from Lake Norman down to the Charlotte Hall of Fame that day, and that was a memorable ride in itself.
Let's also talk about the other two gentlemen that you're going into the Hall with, and Carl Edwards and Ralph Moody. I want to first talk about Ralph. What do you know about Ralph's career, and what do you think of him being inducted into the Hall of Fame with you?
Well, that's the one thing about my career. It spanned like 30 years, and so I got a chance to see some of the old guys and all the way up to the Jeff Gordon days. Teammate with Jeff Gordon at Hendricks for about a year. So I wouldn't trade up anything. And Ralph Moody was big in the 60s and in the early 70s. I didn't get started to mid-70s, late 70s, but Ralph was a legend. The Holman Moody, you've seen the movie Ford versus Ferrari. Holman Moody has a big presence in it. Ralph Moody himself was helping. He was part of that win at Le Mans. So just not just NASCAR. He was international known driver and great mechanic. But I had a chance to drive Ralph Moody's car one day, and it actually happened in my rookie season. I was competing against Janet Guthrie for the Rookie of the Year. Janet came down. She was ill that week. She's the toughest lady I've ever been around, and a great driver in herself. But she ended up having a flu bug prior to that, so she only ran a few laps. I ended up breaking. My car broke down, so I drove Janet's car the rest of the day at Bristol, and I'm thinking, man, I wish my car would run like this, And Ralph was the one that was turning the wrenches on that car. So great guy.
And next, Carl Edwards. You guys have formed a friendship over the last couple of months, too. What's it been like being inducted into the Hall of Fame with Carl Edwards?
I can't think of a better guy. Carl is, he's a mystery to a lot of people. And I think, you think, well, he left the sport on top, which is, everyone's dream. They would like to go out on top. But Carl, I'm sure everybody gets tired of talking about it, but I'm sitting there, I wanted more. I want to see more Carl Edwards, just watching the way he drives, and enjoyed his backflip after the race. And So I was leaving, he was coming in, and he was winning everything in the lower series of NASCAR, but I never got a chance to talk to Carl until recently. And just what a neat guy, and we share the same love of aviation. Carl used to fly his own jet to the racetrack, and I never flew our jet, but I flew our King Airs and things of that nature. So from that side of it, we still love aviation. So we briefly bumped into Carl at Oshkosh, Wisconsin, at the big air show back about 6 months ago. So anyway, it's we got something to talk about anyway. But just I'm waiting to see the next chapter with Carl Edwards, because I don't think everybody's through following Carl. I think there's more to come.
Well, finally, I know folks were waiting a long time for your name to be announced as a Hall of Famer, as were you. Now that it's official, the blue jacket is on. How does it feel being inducted into the Hall of Fame tonight?
It definitely is something special about it. I don't know how to word it, because it is special, and you realize that. I've been fortunate enough to win some races, but to me, this is the highlight of everything.
Well, you've been so humble, so kind, so gracious. You go enjoy the night, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Ricky Rudd, one of our inductees for the class of 2025. I'm going to let him make his way into the ballroom. We're now going to be joined by our other Hall of Famers here. Oh, he's talking to his son, so I should just bring Kyle Petty on in here, but we're actually going to talk to the king himself, Richard Petty. Oh, am I getting Kyle? We'll do them both. Okay. Kyle Petty said he's going to be the translator, but I am now going to welcome the official. This is who I really want to talk to, Kyle. You know I love you, but
it's been that way my whole life, so I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
But there's nobody I love better than the king, Richard Petty here.
I'm getting so old, I got to have an escort.
Yes,
okay. That's how it always goes. Well, we're here at another Hall of Fame induction ceremony, but being from that inaugural class, what does this night now mean to you? It's been 15 years since you were inducted. Hard to believe.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that we're 15 years old here, and we was fortunate that I guess we'd been around long enough that they put us in at the beginning of the Hall of Fame deal, and now it's making it tougher and tougher for these guys to get in, because we've cut it down to just 2 or 3 people getting in every year, and it's always nice to come back, see some of these guys that we hadn't seen since last year, because they're all doing different things. But to come back here and see all the old racers and a bunch of the new racers, a bunch of the guys that are going in the Hall of Fame in the future. So it's a real, probably of all the places we go to, there's more racing here this night than there is any place we go.
Well, I always love seeing the king, because he always has his cowboy hat. He always has the sunglasses on. But can we take a look at look at inside? We've decked out with the bolo. We have the vest going.
The vest is the deal. The vest is hot. This is our new.
I'm ready.
Line. This is it right here.
This is it.
I mean,
it's perfect.
Best dress of the night.
You ought to see my shorts.
Oh my gosh, no! Let's back that one down. We're not ready to go there yet.
Yeah, we've not been anywhere inside the ballroom yet, so you got to keep your pants on, Richard Petty. Kyle, I want to also talk to you about when your dad was inducted into the Hall of Fame, and you obviously grew up in this sport, drove with the sport in NASCAR. You're a true historian of the sport, but what does it mean to see a family member be inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame?
So it's huge, and I'm talking to Ricky. Talking to Carl on the phone over the last couple of weeks, doing some stuff. I told him, you don't realize how big it is until you get here, until you get in the room. And you get in the room, and it's like he said, there's so many other racers in there. We're very, very blessed with our family. My grandfather, Lee Petty, my dad, Dale Inman, Uncle Maurice. So many members of our family is here, so this is a special night and always a special place.
Well, I want to talk to you, Richard, too, about Ralph Moody, because there was quite the battle. You guys were super competitive with Holman Moody Racing and Petty Enterprises there on the racetrack. What do you remember from Ralph?
Well, really, Ralph done his racing before I came along. But when they started Holman and Moody and stuff, we seen him everywhere. Yeah. And he was really the heart of their competition part. And he took care of all the cars, all the drivers, and all that stuff. And he pretty well knew what he was doing, because you look back at the record that they've had, the success that Holman Moody had, and on the racetrack was because of him. So from that standpoint, he knew he'd been in racing. He knew the drivers. He knew what it took. He knew the cars, and he's very deserving of being in the Hall of Fame.
And finally, I want to ask both of you guys, too, about the other 2 gentlemen that are being inducted tonight. so worthy. Obviously, we know their stats and what they're like in the sport and their legacy in this sport. But let's first start with Carl Edwards. What's a man like Carl Edwards and the showmanship of Carl? What was he like?
Carl was a show, right? Everybody I talked to always, if they wasn't a Carl fan, they didn't mind if he win because he done that backflip. So everybody waited for him to do that backflip. So he's probably known more for that than he is. But you look back at his record and stuff, and if the point standing and stuff had been counted, say more like when I did, he would have won 2 championships. That's how much and how good he was at the time he was there. And, he quit right in his prime, and maybe that was his business, but he probably done the right thing for him.
And Carl, as a competitor, what was Carl like when you saw him inside of a helmet?
Yeah, Carl was only nice outside the race car, okay? He wasn't Cousin Carl when he got inside the race. And listen, he fought for every square inch. And that's what, listen, there are guys, and we talk about it a lot, watching truck racing and watching Xfinity. They're guys that are just made for Cup, and that's Carl. Yeah, he drove a truck. Yes, he was good in the Xfinity, but when he got in that Cup car, and the first full year wins 4 races. I mean, he just gets it done right off the bat. He was born to be a Cup driver, and he cut a mark through the sport over a period of a few years there, and then left. And he did it. There's other guys that have come along, Fred Lorenz and guys like that in the history of the sport who were just here for a short time, but have a lasting impact. And Carl's that way.
And then the last member of the 2025 NASCAR Hall of Fame class is Ricky Rudd. And I think the word that's been used the most is grit or toughness. He was just a tough guy. What do you know about the Iron Man, and what can you have to say about Ricky?
Well, you got to figure, he started really struggling in order to get in a good ride stuff. He come on, he done his thing, and, what I'd really admire, one of the things I really admire about him was once he quit driving, he had his own team, and he won races working on his own race car. Yeah. And very few of us can really say that. So he was not only an Iron Man from that standpoint, but a hard head on the deal that, hey, them other guys can do it, and drive the cars. I can do it and drive the cars. Very, very successful at it also.
KP, what about Ricky Rudd? What do you have to say?
I guess he's second on the all-time list from starts and stuff. And when you look at it, I think the race that epitomizes Ricky as much as anything is we go back to Bud's car and crashing at Daytona and having to tape his eyes open to run that race. And I think that says who Ricky Rudd is. And that's told the world. Everybody on the racetrack already knew who he was, but that told the world. He started young. He broke the mold before. Listen, he showed up at 18 racing against guys like this that were 38. It was just a different game when he came along. But he fit in. He found a way to fit in. He found a way to find his place. He won races in 15 or 16 different seasons straight in a row. I mean, he did what it takes to be a Cup driver, and obviously what it takes to be a Hall of Famer.
Well, Richard Petty celebrated his last birthday on the beaches. I think it was Mexico. Was he in Mexico?
Yes,
where was he?
Right. Yes.
So I don't know who keeps up with who quite as much, but who wrangles who?
No way.
Yeah. No. I have to wrangle him, man. That's why I'm here. Now when we get through with you, we're going to ease him along to somebody else. Maybe a beach in Mexico. Who knows where we're going from here?
We'll give it a try.
Beaches of Daytona, I think, is where we're headed. All right, you guys enjoy the night. Richard Petty, Kyle Petty. That is the king. Obviously, his son, Kyle Petty, here celebrating. He was inducted in 2010, the inaugural class at the NASCAR Hall of Fame, the first ever, and who better than the king? We're now going to be joined. Come on over, Mr. Labonte.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Doing great. Thank you.
It's always special when we see these nights at the Hall of Fame, and I know that you guys get to talk shop and talk the memories of the sport, but you also get to do it in a nice, snazzy blue jacket. How often do you put your blue jacket on every year?
I put it on at least twice every year. Once to make sure it's going to fit, and then the night I wear it.
Terry, that's where I was getting at, because I know that's always the fun, pull it out of the closet, make sure it still fits. But for this week, watching all of these ceremonies, how special is this week for folks that don't know what it's like to be inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Well, it's quite an accomplishment to be inducted in the Hall of Fame, and I'm really happy for Ricky Rudd and Carl Edwards. Two guys that were great competitors. Ricky and I raced together for a long, long time, and of course Carl came on the scene and he had a lot of success, and I'm happy for both those guys. It's a great night for them, and so anytime you come down here, you get to see a lot of the guys that you raced against, the guys that you looked up to. There's Richard Petty right there, who was one of my heroes, growing up. So it's nice to be just kind of part of the same deal they're in.
You mentioned racing against Ricky. And I just mentioned it to the Petty family there about the grit and the toughness of Ricky Rudd. What was he like as a competitor? But also fill me in on what he was like when you got him away from a race car.
Ricky is just a down-to-earth guy. I think he is who he is, and he's a great guy. He was a great competitor. He was one of those guys that you could race, side by side and never have to worry about, running into each other. I mean, he was just a really clean racer, very successful, heck of a road course driver for sure, and a tough guy. I mean, he ran a lot of races, and he held the Ironman streak there for a while, But I can remember back, and I guess it must have been 85 or 6 when we had a terrible accident at Daytona in the Busch Clash, and he came back and raced in the 500, but he's a tough guy.
And then with Carl Edwards, just the showmanship that is Carl. What was the machine of Carl Edwards like?
Man, Carl was a great competitor, and I was always jealous because I thought there's no way I could do a backflip if I want to race. I mean, and he did them every time. He's quite an athlete and a great competitor. I'm happy for him to be in the Hall of Fame. He's certainly deserved it. He's put in a lot of effort and worked hard for a long time.
Getting the band back together of these Hall of Famers when you guys get to come and take part in the ceremonies all week long. There's a lot of activities. It's not just tonight and the ceremony. You guys get to spend a frequent amount of time here this week. What's it like swapping stories and hanging out with the guys you don't see all the time?
Well, it's fun, Donnie Allison and I talked for a long time last year and shared some stories back from when I first started. And he actually was kind of a little bit of part of my career to get started back then, and he was real close to Billy Hagan, the first owner I drove for, and so I told Donnie, I said, you don't really realize it, but you're the guy that got me my first ride here, and but just some great guys that are in this thing, and guys that you looked up to back then. Of course, a lot of times you might not have looked up to, you might have been mad at them or something, but nobody's mad at each other anymore, so it's kind of a fun crowd to be around.
And then obviously the Hall of Fame, we started inducting classes in 2010. How important is the Hall of Fame for the sport of NASCAR?
Well, I think it's great, and I think, all of us growing up, when we started out racing, you don't ever think, oh boy, my goal is to be in the Hall of Fame, and when we started there was no Hall of Fame, so that certainly was never a thought, but I don't think it's anybody's thought, to like, that's not your goal, to be in the Hall of Fame. Your goal is to go out and win races and win championships and do the best you can every weekend. And then if you are lucky enough to be selected at the Hall of Fame, it's just quite an accomplishment. And I mean, like when I was, inducted, I felt like I was in a room and I looked around and I saw all those people in there that I looked up to. And I never put myself on their level because you don't ever look up at your heroes and put yourself on their level.
And what do you want the two gentlemen that are here tonight, as well as their families, what do you want them to take from tonight? What's the most important part about tonight for them?
Tonight's about them, and it's. I just hope that they all enjoy it.
Well, you go enjoy it. Have some fun. Good to see you, Terry Labonte, everybody. So you hear the cheers here still in Glory Road. We're in the Hall of Fame. Fans are obviously welcomed in here to take part in the red carpet, in the ceremony. They will play the ceremony later, but you guys are not going to want to miss the ceremony because when we're done right here on the red carpet, you're going to want to switch over at 8 p.m. Eastern to the NASCAR channel on Tubi. That is where you can watch that ceremony. But I want to pop over. There's the graphic right there. You see the three gentlemen that are being inducted, the class of 2025 forever legends of Carl Edwards, Ricky Rudd, and Ralph Moody. We obviously have heard from the Moody family tonight, as well as Ricky Rudd. Carl Edwards is going to make his way here on the red carpet as well, but such a special night for us. It's glamorous. We get to see the families. We get to see their blue jackets. They also will be unveiling their special displays in the Hall of Fame that fans can come and look at for the rest of this year. But I just want to show and see if we can get a shot quickly of all the fans that have made their way here into the Hall of Fame. Let's see if we can pull that up, just because I want to see how special this place is, that we welcome these fans in here. The red carpet is really an experience. In the Hall of Fame, if you've never been to the NASCAR Hall of Fame, you're going to want to make sure and plan a visit. It's so special to see just all of the legends being honored here in the Hall of Fame. But Glory Road is incredible. Yeah, look at all those fans. They pack out here. We have 3 inductees that are very special to the sport of NASCAR. Carl Edwards obviously had just a tremendous following. And speaking of Carl, we are actually going to watch an induction video. As you see, he and his family on the red carpet now, but let's take a look at what Carl Edwards has meant to the sport of NASCAR.
Over the course of his career, Carl Edwards backflipped his way into the hearts of racing fans with each trip to victory lane. An easygoing presence in the garage and a lightning-fast competitor on the track, Carl Edwards was one of the 21st century's most accomplished and beloved drivers.
When you look at Carl Edwards, one of the things that you think about is tenacity. He approached every race that he was going to win that race.
He was really good at thinking his way through races, being really smart, methodical, and always getting better.
Carl had a ton of talent. He would just drive the wheels off whatever he was in. It was just natural.
He had a real focus in his professional career. He is a real credit to our sport, and he was a superstar.
The former engineering student from Columbia, Missouri, worked as a substitute teacher while pursuing a racing career. He caught the eye of car owner Jack Roush and earned a full-time ride in the Truck Series in 2003.
What I saw was somebody that appeared to have more enthusiasm for the racing and more interest in being successful than he was concerned for himself.
That season, Edwards won 3 races, along with the Truck Series Rookie of the Year award. By 2005, Edwards went full-time in both the Cup Series and what is now the Xfinity Series, and was awarded the Xfinity Series Rookie of the Year title that same year.
This sport has a new star, and the fans love it.
Nobody had ever seen anything like that. The backflip just endeared him to every fan ever.
I looked forward to as a kid whenever he won, like, oh, we get to see the Carl backflip.
In 2008, Edwards led all drivers with 9 wins. He was also a force to be reckoned with in the Xfinity Series, winning a remarkable 38 races and the 2007 championship. A born competitor, Edwards raced full-time in both series for 7 years.
He came on so fast. You know, from the time he jumped in a truck to jump to the Cup level, you heard about him, and here he was, and boom, all of a sudden he's winning races and winning big races.
I remember being in the Truck Series garage all those years ago. All I know is this guy is panning out business cards. I'm like, well, good luck to that dude. And then the next thing you know, I'm covering the guy, and he's almost winning the Cup championship. It feels like those were about 10 minutes apart.
Edwards impressively finished second in the standings in both 2008 and 2011.
The 2011 championship, Carl had an unbelievable season. He was basically top 5 for over half the races, and he goes into Miami Homestead, obviously, in a battle with Tony Stewart.
The competition between those two, it really was the Game 7 moment. Even myself being on the pit box, we were on the edge of our seat just because you wanted to know what was going to happen on the next lap.
Tony Stewart comes across the line. Carl Edwards will finish in second.
The second place finish in 2011 came down to a tiebreaker, the closest points battle in Cup Series history.
The grace with which Carl handled coming so close but not winning the championship, I think is something else he should be acknowledged and remembered for.
In 2015, Edwards left Roush Racing to help start a 4th team for car owner Joe Gibbs.
I think in Carl's case, everybody really respected him. It helped build our team, and he deserves a lot of credit for that.
The whole company was growing, starting the 4th team, and he wanted to be a team player. He wanted to be the best out of the 4. He brought ownership and dedication into that role.
In his first season at Joe Gibbs Racing, Edwards won 2 of NASCAR's crown jewels, the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte and the Southern 500 at Darlington.
Carl Edwards, he'll add his name to the legends that have won at Darlington.
His popularity and success with Joe Gibbs Racing continued into 2016, but the conclusion of that season came with news that shocked the racing world.
So I'm stepping away from full-time driving in the Cup Series, and I'm not taking any questions, so thanks for coming.
Just joking.
I remember him sitting down and he goes, "Hey, Joe, I think it's time for me to step away from racing." And I go, "What?" Here's a guy that's in his prime. And for him to say that, I think it was one of the more shocking things that happened to me in sports.
I wake up in the morning thinking about racing. I think about it all day. I go to bed thinking about it, and I have dreams about racing. And that's just how it is. I've been doing that for 20 years, and I need to take that time right now and devote it to people and things that are important to me.
Carl Edwards gets his 9th win of the year.
Man, that's just unbelievable.
I don't believe anybody's a Hall of Fame driver that is not a great race car driver in the first place. That's the core of Carl Edwards. He was like the Freddie Lorenzen of our time, the golden child.
Anybody that can spend any amount of time with Carl Edwards is better for it. If you look at his driving talent and what he brought to our fans, what he brought to our race teams, Carl is a true class act and one of the best that's ever sat in a race car, in my opinion.
He was such a great ambassador for the sport as well as a performer in it.
Carl shook my hand, said go get it. Class act right there.
He was a tough competitor, the winner, the class act as an individual. He was respected by everybody within the sport. He was special in every aspect of his career.
Carl Edwards and his family are making their way to us here in the NASCAR Hall of Fame down on Glory Road. A very special red carpet, but now joined. It's been a year since that guy was inducted into the Hall of Fame. The class of 2024, Chad Knaus, his lovely wife, Brooke. You guys, welcome back. It's been a while, but not really. Feels pretty short.
It's deja vu. I feel like we were just here yesterday.
We were here yesterday.
We literally were here yesterday.
You guys came take part in all these ceremonies. Chad, for you obviously have been a year in this blue jacket. What's it been like to be called a Hall of Famer for 365 days?
It's been an honor for sure. It really has. It's been a lot of fun. Last night was really a tremendous amount of fun. Sitting with Linda and Ricky last night, having dinner with them, talking to Kate and Carl was great, and then obviously seeing Ralph Moody receive his jacket with his family. So it was a lot of fun. But this year's been tremendous. We had a great season last year with our race team. We won a bunch of races. We got ourselves into the playoffs. We had a shot to win the championship. So it was really a magical year for us, and we had a great time celebrating with our friends and our family last year. And it's kind of sad that the exhibit that we had is gone, but it was still a lot of fun.
You guys also had the Nuggets here. The kids were here last year too, taking part on the red carpet. So special for you. But let's talk about the memories of the Hall of Fame. Now getting together with former Hall of Famers that were inducted in classes before you, but also now these 3 new ones. What's that been like just to celebrate and talk a little shop with those guys?
It's a lot of fun. It really is. And the stories just go and go and go. As you sit down and you talk with Richard Petty or Jeff Gordon, Ray Evernham, or Dale Inman, any of those guys, it's just so much fun because there's so much history. And they're the people that built this sport. And it's kind of really odd for me to feel like I'm in the same category as those guys still, because they're people that I grew up admiring and legends in our industry. And to think that I'm in here with them is, it's a little awkward from time to time.
A little less pressure with no speech tonight, right?
Yeah, for sure. We're going to sit back, relax, celebrate the new inductees, and have a good time with everybody else.
You guys clean up lovely. I know Brooke is always, she's always beautiful.
So beautiful and so sweet.
You guys enjoy it. Have some fun tonight. I'm going to let you go this way. Obviously, the class of 2024, Chad Knaus won so many championships with Jimmy Johnson, his wife Brooke. Always lovely to see them, and special for them to be back a year since their last induction ceremony. So they get to enjoy it and have some fun and recognize these next 3 inductees that are going into the class of 2025 for the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Let's throw up a full screen of Carl Edwards' accomplishments. And man, this could go on for so long with us. And the fans have been very excited to see Carl here. But we take a look at our last inductee that we're going to talk to here on the red carpet, Carl Edwards. He was a 2007 NASCAR Xfinity Series champion. And we mentioned all of the success that he had in the Truck Series, but obviously being crowned an Xfinity Series champion, a highlight in his career. 72 career National Series wins. He's a 2015 Coca-Cola 600 winner, a 2015 Southern 500 winner. This last one, I don't even know if I want to bring it up to you. Okay, a 2-time Cup Series championship runner-up.
2 + 2 does not equal 1, but I'm telling you,
it doesn't matter. The career for me was beyond my wildest dreams, and gosh, it's just this was never even a thought, and so the whole thing has just been overwhelming.
Well, a common denominator of the stories that have been told about you tonight, I'm just going to be honest, was like you went out on his prime. It was Carl Edwards was winning all the time, and then he went away from the sport. When you look back, why that decision? Why going out on your prime?
So 2 things about that, and I get to talk about it tonight, and that's one of the things that's so special about being back here. I didn't think NASCAR would invite me back like this. When I came to Darlington last year, I was truly nervous about the reception and the welcome. I mean, and then this, I understand what the NASCAR family is about. But for me, it was after 2016, that was a good season. It was almost a perfect season. I got home and I thought, man, I'm so satisfied with my career. It's so wonderful. And I needed to be a father, a husband, and Dale Jr. and the other guys, they were real brave. They pointed out the risks of head injuries and things like that. And I thought, man, if I was ever going to do it, I need to just cut the cord and go. And it was a good decision for me. But I just can't believe that NASCAR welcomed me back.
Well, you officially have the blue jacket on. We see the NASCAR Hall of Fame. You're going to be introduced now and for the rest of your life as a NASCAR Hall of Famer. Can you even process what that honor means to you, or has it really not sunk in yet?
I don't think it's sunk in. I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, I was a race fan. I had a Richard Petty poster on my wall. I mean, this is, it's almost too much. I got to live a dream, and then this is the best icing on the best cake that you could ever imagine.
I want to talk to you about the other 2 gentlemen that you're being inducted with here in the 2025 class. Let's first talk about Ralph Moody. What do you think of that gentleman going into the Hall of Fame tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I was telling my family, last night we were talking about Ralph and Ricky, and it's like these guys, these different generation of drivers. Ralph Moody's a true American hero. I mean, a pioneer, a guy who's done everything. And the stories I've heard from Ricky Rudd, Ralph Moody III, I mean, what an amazing man. And then we moved to Ricky Rudd. I mean, I was a Ricky Rudd fan. I almost get a little nervous being around him. I mean, he's a superstar, toughest man alive, and he is NASCAR. So it's an honor to be going in with them, and I'm humbled to be mentioned alongside of them.
You and Ricky have formed quite the friendship over these last couple of months. It's been really sweet to watch, but I want to mention another, and I don't know if he's going to continue to be a friend, because Kyle Larson has given you quite the hardest time about getting you to fill in for him when he's running the double of obviously the Coke 600 and the Indianapolis 500. He needs somebody to drive his all-star car. I'm just saying, Carl Edwards, it might fit you pretty well.
Okay, so there's two sides, right? There's the, oh my gosh, Kyle Larson. I mean, he's the baddest driver in the world. I really think he is. I think he's as good as anybody in the world. That car, that team, it would be so much fun to do. The racer in me says that. And then the realist is like, you haven't driven a car for 8 years, you'll screw it all up, it'll be terrible. So I don't know what to do about that. Hey, Kyle, you're messing with me, all right? And I'm going to get you back one way or another, but no, it really is. It's an honor. We'll see what happens.
I just want to know how many backflips Kyle Larson needs to do to get you into that car.
All right, so now this could get fun. Man, I don't know what to say.
Well, we're hoping to get you back here soon, but we're glad to be celebrating you tonight. Congratulations, and you go enjoy the night.
Thank you so much.
Carl Edwards, the 3 members that are being inducted in the class of 2025, you're going to want to make sure and watch Carl give his speech later tonight in the induction ceremony. Let's take a look at where you can watch that. 8 p.m. Eastern, Tubi on the NASCAR channel. You can see all of that action as we make our way into the ballroom. You can hear the fans already yelling. It's going to be such a special induction ceremony. Obviously, all 3 of these inductees more than deserving to be honored here and to be cemented in as legacies and the legends of our sport. We're going to watch Ralph Moody, his family, celebrate his legacy tonight, as well as Ricky Rudd and the man Carl Edwards. This is fun for us, though, because we get to see these guys in their blue jackets, and we saw the clash at Bowman Gray last week, which really got us in the racing spirit. But after tonight, and after you watch the ceremony on Tubi at 8 p.m. Eastern, we head to Daytona Beach. It's time to take on the high banks for the Daytona 500, and we have Speed Weeks coming up. All of that action, we're going to be bringing it to you throughout the whole entire week, and we're going to kick off Speed Weeks with our live media day coverage, hearing from the drivers who are going after a crown jewel of our sport. The biggest trophy you can get in the sport of NASCAR, besides the championship trophy, obviously, is the Daytona 500. So make sure and tune in to our live coverage from Media Day, Wednesday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern on NASCAR's YouTube and NASCAR social pages. Go watch the induction ceremony tonight. Let's have a great 2025 racing season. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you down in Daytona.